Hello, this is Panzerline from POCGamer, and I am doing day 4 of the Dungeons and Dragons 30-day challenge. Where I'm answering a question a day about my Dungeons and Dragons history, life, and thoughts. Got the list here, and today's question is, see here, favorite game world. Right on. So I'm going to guess the question is a little bit nebulous because it doesn't really leave anything in for determining like favorite homebrew world or favorite established world. So I'm going to take it as what is my favorite established game world. So provided by TSR or Wizards of the Coast, and there's a lot. I can honestly say like I've only disliked a handful of official campaign settings, and it was more because of limitations within those settings. For example, I thought the idea behind Birthright was pretty cool, but the setting was super small and super limited because it was made to sort of have those mass battles. But I would say my favorite official campaign setting would be Forgotten Realms. Um, and the reasons for that is because of the worlds, it has the least amount of doesn't make sense. If that tracks with anyone who's watching this. And what I mean by that is that other worlds tend to be a little bit nonsensical. They'll simply pack they're geographically nonsensical. Like radically different biomes are right next to each other, with no regard for sort of how a planet would work. There's the ultra evil nation right next to the ultra good nation, and somehow the chaotic evil nation is a functional place instead of being a nonstop despotic hellhole. So it it has its issues, but it had less issues, I feel, than a lot of the other official campaign settings. There were a lot of other ones I enjoyed. I loved Dragonlance back in the day, at least until things went very, very badly sideways, and the campaign settings stopped being fun for me because there seemed to be this really dark period that a lot of game settings were obligated to go through during third and fourth editions, where just for the sake of trying to change things up, everyone figures like, oh, let's make it extra apocalyptic. I mean, like Dragonlance was already a post-apocalyptic world when it first came out. The cataclysm had happened all those years ago, and the world had mostly recovered from it, but not completely. And then eventually, it just became more and more of a generic fantasy world. I mean, I remember in earlier versions of it, like steel coins were a thing, and that was very quickly abandoned in later editions of it, where they just switched everything over to gold, sort of started to ignore the whole steel and iron is rare sort of thing, and then just multiple apocalypses and multiple massive god level battles and acts and stuff, and I was just like, this is exhausting. Forgotten Realms has had its issues. It's had rough patches. It has a huge problem with not having enough adequate coverage of each area. Like, it's a very unevenly covered and unevenly explored world, so there's issues around that. But overall, if I were to pick my favorite campaign setting, my favorite game world that's canon, it's Forgotten Realms. So I'm actually been writing a lot about Forgotten Realms lately, with the release of the Tomb of Annihilation, the new adventure, specifically because it was exploring an area that was in part, well, not in part, a very large part of how my blog POCGamer and how this whole channel, everything started. And so there's going to be a lot more on that. This really isn't the right place to discuss that, though. So there'll be some links in the description if you want to go read about Chult when I started all this and Chult now and what's going on. But outside of that, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you guys tomorrow.